guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Juliana. I hope you're doing well, and in today's video we are going to talk about Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book was published in 2018 and James Clear, as you can see here, is a journalist and an author and a speaker specialized in habits and decision-making processes. His work has been highlighted by New York Times, The Entrepreneur, The Time, and CBS. His site has millions of visitors every month and thousands of people subscribe to his newsletter at jamesclear.com. He's an habitual speaker in diverse companies of Fortune 500, and his work is used in several American teams from the Football First League, baseball and basketball. So James Clear is an author that is used to talk about habits and how habits affect your life. And in this book we are presented with 4 laws. I'm going to speak about a little bit of each law he talks about, and at the end of this review I'm going to talk about the experience of reading the book, my perspective, what I thought about the book, and what the things I enjoy the most. First of all, I'm gonna ask you to forgive me because I'm going to see through my notes. I wrote a big text about this book. I want to give you the most information that I can. So while I'm reading through my notes, I'm going to be looking down at my computer that is in front of me. So I hope you don't mind. It's just so I can remember everything and don't forget to tell you the things that I wanted to tell you. I make some points that I want to talk about, so this will help me not to forget anything. I hope you forgive me. So, the first law is make it obvious. With this law, Clear wants us to be more conscious about our habits and gives us advice on how to do that, like saying out loud the actions that we are about to make and ponder the consequences. So if you say out loud what you're going about to do, you may ponder if it's a good habit or a bad habit. He also tells us the best way to start an habit, writing down the habit that we want to do as follows. I'll do action at time in place. Being specific and deliberate with our intentions make it more likely to do what we intend for. Clear also adds that we can stack up habits, like you can write down, after current habit, I'll do new habit. Creating a sequence between our actions may be the best way to increment new habits. Clear even adds that motivation is overvalued, that what counts is our environment. The best way to remember to take our vitamins is to leave them in a place where you can see it, so you can easily reach for them. The best way to do any habit we want to perpetuate is to leave a cue easy to respond to. The second habit is make it attractive. With this law, Clear shows us how to make a habit irresistible. He starts to explain how an habit is directly related to the dopamine release. This release happens not only when we experience pleasure, but also when we anticipate pleasure. Whenever dopamine rises, the motivation to act increases. It's this anticipation of a reward and not the reward in itself. It is here that we can wrap up temptations. After habit that I need, I'll do habit that I want to do. For example, after picking up the phone, I'll do 10 push-ups. That's the habit that I need to do. After doing 10 push-ups, I'll go to see Facebook. Habit that I want. The culture we live in determines which behaviors are attractive to us. We tend to adopt habits that are praised and approved by our culture because we have a strong desire to fit in and belong to the tribe. We tend to imitate the habits of three social groups: the close, that's family and friends; the many, that's the tribe; and the powerful, that's those with status and prestige. One of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is a normal behavior and you already have something in common with the group. The normal behavior of the tribe often overpowers the desired behavior of the individual. We'd rather be wrong with the crowd than be right by ourselves. If a behavior can get us approval, respect, and praise, we find it attractive. The third law is make it easy. With this law, Clear presents to us the difference of what he calls being on the move and being in action. When we are on the move, we are planning and deciding strategies and learning. And Clear says that is all good but doesn't promote results. Action, on the other hand, is what's going to promote results. If I look for a better plan to do a diet and read some books, that is movement. If I make a healthy meal, that's action. Sometimes movement is important, but by itself is not useful. And sometimes we postpone the action because we are afraid to fail. Another important factor is repetition. Habits form with frequency and not with time. Clear says we should lead our lives to do the most with the least effort. We should rearrange our lives so that good habits aren't a strenuous thing to do. For example, pick up a gym that is between work and home, so it isn't necessary any detours. We also should organize and clean our spaces every time we use them so that they be ready for the next time. We should start the first chain of habit sequence. If we want to go to the gym, dressing the tracksuit should be the first thing we do in the morning. Habits stack up. We have to start a chain that leads us into a routine of good habits. Sometimes, when we want to implement change, we start with the big instead of the small. Clear gives us a rule to combat that. He says that a habit shouldn't take longer than 2 minutes to complete. The 2 minutes rule. Instead of trying to read a whole chapter every night, why not start with reading a page? The idea is to facilitate the starting of a new habit. By mastering this art of starting a habit, the first 2 minutes become just a ritual at the start of a larger routine. Sometimes, success is less about turning the good habits easy and more about turning the bad habits hard. Is this inversion of the third law, becoming the habit hard? Clear talks about a mechanism of compromise. These are useful because it allows us to take advantage of good intentions before we succumb to temptations. For example, put a timer in your router so that at 10 p.m. the timer cuts off the access to the internet and everyone knows it's time to go to bed. The fourth law is make it satisfying. It is more likely to repeat a behavior when the experience is satisfying. Clear explains to us that only recently, along 500 years, society changed for an environment that is of delayed return. Our brain evolved to value quick rewards. With bad habits, the immediate result is in general pleasant, but the definitive is bad. With good habits, is the other way around. The immediate result doesn't provide pleasure, but the definitive is good. In a way of working with the necessity of instant gratification, Clear explains we can include some strategies, like when we are trying to save for something like a coat. Every time we decide not to spend money in other things, we should transfer that amount to buying the coat. For example, didn't drink that coffee? Transfer €5 to the coat. And so the sacrifice isn't in vain. The satisfaction of seeing how you're saving for that coat can be your immediate reward. All of us can benefit from a habit register. It's satisfying to see in a visual cue of our progress. When the proof is in front of our eyes, it's less likely that we lie to ourselves. The tracking of habits also helps maintaining the focus. We concentrate on the process and not on the result. Of course, not everything is perfect. We can fail some days, but we should avoid repeating the mistake. And it's more important doing something, even small, than doing nothing. Also, we should be careful about the way we choose to track our habits. We shouldn't become obsessed with the numbers, because sometimes we become more preoccupied with doing a lot and not doing it well. Clear also advises that having a partner to help keeping us on track. Creating a habit contract could add to any behavior a social cost. Knowing that someone is watching us can be a powerful motivator. So, these are the 4 laws that Clear talks about in his book. And what are my thoughts? I can't say that I learned something new, that I never heard about what he's talking about in the book. That's not true. All the things that he talks about is a bit common sense, in my opinion. And the thing that I enjoyed the most was the organization of the book, the way that he organized his thoughts, and also he gives us strategies that are useful, that are practical, and that is something that I really enjoyed about the book. I think that the strategies that he gives are really direct, really intuitive, and easy to put in action. I think that he gives useful strategies. That's something that I really thought it was interesting. Also, he in the beginning of the book he says that he compiled a lot of knowledge about the topic. So he went and picked different informations of other authors about this same topic, about habits, and so we stack up that knowledge in this book. What I thought it was interesting as well, that's like a compendium of information. So he pick up the most useful information of each author, of each book that he read about the topic as well, and he put it in his book. So that was interesting. Something that I really enjoyed was that he, in the beginning of each chapter, he would present an example of a real case, of real situations, of studies, and he would do an analogy of that same situation, that same study, and bring to the topic that he was talking about. So that was interesting as well. That's something that I really enjoyed, because made the book and the reading of the book dynamic and really easy to understand, because he would give that type of examples. And something that I really enjoyed as well was that he would put a summarize at the end of each chapter. So every time we ended a chapter, we would see the key topics that he talked about in that chapter. And he would also do a chart where he would put the rules and the key information about the rules. So at the end of each chapter, the chart would become bigger with the new information, and that was really nice because the visual cue of that chart make it more schematic and more easy to follow and more easy to recapitulate the information that we had until that time. So that was something that I really enjoyed as well. Another thing that I liked was the way that he talks about the 1% rule. Like, you have to become 1% better each day. So you have to do the minimum to turn your habit to perpetuate your habit, to be more consistent with your habit. So the 1% rule is you have to do something, even if it's little and for a less amount of time, but we have to do that, whatever it is, playing guitar, go to the gym, read, anything. Any habit that you want to applicate in your life, you have to do it even for a little time, like going to the gym. If you're having a bad day, for example, and you don't really want to go to the gym that day, you go and you stay for 5 minutes, do a run, do bike, whatever, but stay there for 5 minutes and then go home. So that 1% rule also is connected with your identity. That is something that he also talks about in this book. That is to become the type of person that, for example, doesn't fail a day training or doesn't fail a training day. For example, 1% rule, you go to the gym, stay for 5 minutes. What that entails that you are a type of person that doesn't fail a training day. So your identity is intact. Playing the guitar for 5 minutes. You do that every day, and you're the type of person that doesn't fail a practice day. So that's your identity. That's your identity. That it's something that he talks very much in this book, so that you increment those days and you increment those practices, and you become the type of person that doesn't fail a day. Another thing that he talks about is the way that you shouldn't be focusing on your goals, but be focusing on the systems, on the process. So why? Because several people can have the same goal, like being fit, but that doesn't mean that every person is going to achieve that. So if you and me have the same goal of being fit, maybe I'll not achieve it and you'll do. So what's the difference? So you have to be focusing on the steps that you take to become fit. And so that is the idea that James Clear wants you to be very clear about. That the most important thing is the things that you do to achieve your goal and not the goal in itself. So stating goals is not an objective with this book. The goals is to create step by step, starting with the small things like dress your tracksuit, put on your sneakers. That is your objective at the first. So first thing you should do is dress up for training. That's the first step. Then should be like go on a walk. Second, go on a run. Third, go to the gym. Fourth, for example, that's just an example. But the way that he explains this is very interesting, because you become more conscious about your habits and the things that you want to do, to deconstruct the steps that you should be making at the beginning and not so concentrated on the final result. So you should be rearranging your way of thinking so that you reconstruct your step by step, becoming with the little and the small, and then progress little by little for your major goal. So that is something that I also found very interesting. And that type of thinking is more easy to applicate in real life. You can be more open to do that than to do big changes for one day to the other. That's not realistic. So I think in Atomic Habits, you become more conscious about the steps that you should be making and the things that realistically you will be able to do. So that's a positive point that I see with this book. But again, it's really common sense. It's like the title says, Atomic Habits, little habits, right? So start with the small, I think, is the big idea in this book, and do step by step, day by day, small increments that will add to the bigger picture. So I think that's it. I don't remember anything else that I could say. Well, I'm going to try and apply some of the strategies that he talks about, like annotating your habits, saying out loud what I'm about to do, try to stack up habits after doing something, after a habit doing something else, that type of thing. But I'm going to try and annotate, register, and see what will happen. And maybe I'll do a video after, I don't know, a year, or I don't know, maybe just an idea, So I think that's it. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too boring. I know that I was reading through my notes a lot of the time, so I apologize for that, but I really wanted to pass through all the information that I wanted, so you could be with an overview of the most important things that James Clear talks about in his book. And well, I hope you subscribe to my channel and press the ring bell button to all, so you can receive all my notifications of a new video. I hope you give me a like if you enjoyed this video. It helps me a lot, the divulgation of the channel and divulgation of this video. I hope you follow me on Instagram. Is _books_doodles_. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have read this book and you want to give your opinion about the book, please leave it in the comments. I would love to see it. Please tell me if you are applying any of the rules that James Clear talks about. That would be also interesting for all of us to see. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you on the next video. Bye!